Many healthcare providers struggle to understand the difference between occurrence and claims-made malpractice insurance. How are they different, and when would a doctor actually choose one over the other? If that's you, you're not alone, and we're here to help. In today's episode, we're going to show you 3 real-life examples of claims-made and occurrence quote options for various healthcare providers across the country. We'll look at the differences in rate, long-term cost comparisons, and ultimately which option each provider picked for his or her practice. And I'll show you how they came to their decision. And by the end of this episode, you'll have some tangible examples to help you make your own choice when it comes to the malpractice coverage that's right for you. Welcome to Malpractice Insights, the show dedicated to helping healthcare professionals understand medical malpractice insurance and providing you with the solutions that you need so that you can get back to the work of practicing good medicine. My name is Jennifer Wiggins, CEO of Aegis Malpractice Solutions, and I'm so glad you've joined us today. If you're new to our channel, welcome. Thanks so much for being here. We release a new episode every week, both on YouTube and your favorite podcast streaming platform, so be sure to like and subscribe to stay connected. For today's show, we're going to be showing you some quote examples. It's probably best for you to watch this episode on YouTube as opposed to listening to it via podcast. So if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify right now, you may want to pause this episode and go to the show notes where we've linked the video so that you can follow along a bit more easily. If not, just listen along and you can always circle back to the video or our website at a later time. All right, let's get to it. In the world of medical malpractice insurance, there are 2 types of policies that you can buy: claims-made and occurrence. In order to make sure that you're setting yourself up for success down the road, it's important to understand what makes these policies different. The easiest way to remember the difference is this: the name of the policy describes how the coverage is triggered. If you have an occurrence policy, your malpractice coverage is triggered based on when the incident actually occurred. If you have a claims-made policy, your malpractice coverage is triggered based on when the claim is made against you. Occurrence coverage is the most flexible policy type. With this type of insurance, you only need to carry the insurance while you're actively practicing. When you're done, you simply cancel the policy and walk away. There's no need for tail insurance with an occurrence policy. If a claim is filed later on for a patient that you treated during the years when you were covered on the occurrence policy, that insurance will respond to cover you for the event. Occurrence coverage tends to be a little more expensive on an annual basis as compared to a fully mature claims-made policy. But because you don't have to buy tail insurance at the end, the long-term cost differential is nearly identical. Now let's look at claims-made coverage. A provider who has claims-made coverage must carry the insurance while they are actively practicing, but once they cancel the policy, they must secure tail insurance. Tail covers a healthcare provider from their cancellation date into the future for any filed claims that may still be made against them for patients that they treated during the years when they were covered under the claims-made policy. Claims-made premiums start out at a low price in year 1, and then the rate goes up every year for approximately 5 years until it reaches the mature rate. After this time, the price remains stable. Tail insurance typically costs 1.5 to 2 times the mature premium. So when a provider is looking at the total cost for a claims-made policy, it's important to look at the premiums you'll be paying each year, as well as the tail cost that you'll be responsible for at the end. We have a whole episode dedicated to unpacking the differences between occurrence and claims-made coverage, and I'd highly recommend that you check that episode out if you haven't already. We'll drop a link for you here and also in the show notes so that you can check it out after you finish today's show. So now that you have a baseline understanding of the difference between occurrence and claims-made policy types, let's get to our examples. In this first scenario, we have a 3-man family practice group in Indianapolis, Indiana. This was a startup practice looking for malpractice insurance for the very first time, so it was a fresh start for everyone. We went to market for them and provided quotes from the top 5 malpractice carriers in the state. And once they selected the carrier that they were most interested in, we dove into the discussion of policy types. Let's look at their quote options. For each individual doctor, the premium breakdown was as follows. The claims-made premium started at $2,482 year 1 and steadily increased each year until it reached the mature rate of $7,757 after 5 years. The approximate cost of tail insurance was about $15,500 per doctor. The occurrence policy, on the other hand, started at $8,169 and remained flat year over year. And of course, there's no tail insurance with the occurrence policy at the end. We projected the total cost per provider, assuming they stayed with the practice for 10 years. And in this example, the all-in cost for claims-made coverage, including tail, was $82,920. The total cost for occurrence coverage was $81,680. So, which option did they pick? This group opted for a claims-made policy. Even though the doctors knew they'd have to secure tail insurance at some point down the road, they wanted a lower initial rate to help them get going. The group was able to decide as a practice how they wanted to handle tail insurance in the future. They ultimately decided that the doctors would be responsible for paying a portion of their premiums, but that the group would cover their tail when they leave. Now, let's move to scenario number 2, a solo plastic surgeon in Texas. In this scenario, the doctor was just out of fellowship, so he was brand new to the practice of medicine. Just like the previous example, we obtained quotes from the top carriers, and he selected the company he was most interested in. Here's what his quote options looked like. Normally, a comparison of claims-made versus occurrence looks very similar to what we just saw before. A claims-made premium that starts low and then increases every year for 5 years, compared to an occurrence premium that is a bit higher but remains stable year over year. But in this example, since our doctor was just starting out, he qualified for some significant premium discounts for the first few years. Here's what his rates would have looked like in a typical situation. The claims-made premium starts out at $6,235 and steadily increases until it reaches the mature price of $19,484. The occurrence premium would be $20,517. But since our doctor was new to practice, he was eligible for a 75% premium credit his first year in practice. Most malpractice insurance carriers offer these types of discounts for doctors that are just starting out. So our Texas plastic surgeon's first-year claims-made rate was only $1,949, and his occurrence premium was only $6,412. As you can see in the chart, the discount does slowly go away, bringing us back to those standard rates, but this was a key consideration as the provider decided which coverage option he wanted to select. In this example, the doctor went with the occurrence coverage. Although it was a bit more expensive than the claims-made premium, the doctor wanted to take advantage of that significant premium break to grab onto the more flexible coverage option early on. He preferred the occurrence policy because he didn't want to have to worry about tail insurance. All right, now let's move on to our last example. For this quote request, we were working with a teleradiology doctor in California. This was an established provider who lived in San Diego and did reads locally, as well as for some contracted facilities in some other states. He was doing about 30% of his work in California, 30% in Florida, 20% in Nevada, 10% in Texas, and 10% in Washington state. Here's what his quote options looked like. For the first year claims-made rate, it was $3,060. That rate went up every year until it matured in year 5 and leveled out around $8,743. The occurrence premium was $8,960 each year. Teleradiology rates are affected by the states where a provider is working. Generally, an underwriter will look at all of the rates for all of the areas where a doctor is rendering services, along with the percent of time that he or she will be working there. And then they'll come up with a premium that's comparable to the risk in all of those states. In this example, California was the most expensive area that the doctor was working in, followed closely by Florida. And since those two areas made up the majority of his practice, 30% in California and 30% in Florida, the underwriter charged the California rate while taking into account the other locations. As we looked at the various policy options with this provider, one of the key factors that came into play was the issue of tail insurance. If a telemedicine doctor pulls out of a state or makes a significant change to the scope of his practice, there's always the potential that the malpractice carrier will make the doctor buy tail to close out that exposure. Our teleradiology doctor was concerned enough about this issue that he opted for the occurrence policy for his practice. Occurrence coverage does not require any tail, but it is a bit more expensive. Luckily for our client, he was able to offset some of the cost of his premium by asking for a stipend from his primary contracted facility. So he was able to apply those funds to help pay for the more expensive policy type. As you can see from these examples, there is no right or wrong choice when it comes to selecting a malpractice policy. So much of it is really situational, and that's where an experienced malpractice agent can help you compare options and make the choice that's right for you. If you need help with malpractice quotes and expertise to help you find your right coverage type, click the link in the description box below where you can connect with us today via phone, email, or chat. And if you're listening, please visit us online at aegismalpractice.com. That's AEGIS malpractice.com. We have some great episodes lined up for you in the next few weeks. I hope you found this one helpful. If so, could you do me a favor and give us a like and leave a review? And be sure to subscribe to our show so that you can catch our next installment of Malpractice Insights, where we're dedicated to helping you understand medical malpractice insurance and providing you with the solutions you need so that you can get back to the work of practicing good medicine. This is Jennifer Wiggins. Thanks for joining us.